Lead with vision, inspire with innovation. Enter the genius inside.
We made a pit stop and we met with Lourenço, who's at the back, and Lourenço is a project manager for a blockchain at a supply chain multinational on cryogenic supply chain, and this is a great moment actually to interact with Lourenço and to ask him the potential of the technology for his company. So, Lourenço, what's your take on how the technology is going to affect your company and even your industry?
I believe technology is changing, of course, all the industries, and this is why CryoPDP invested in blockchain as a technology, because as you know, the logistics industry are not known or they are very heavy in terms of paper-based operations. So the goal of CryoPDP was to give a giant step from being late in technology to being on the cutting-edge technology and to choose the one that best fits the logistics industry. And we chose blockchain because, of course, as you know, the decentralization characteristics of blockchain brings everything that is lacking on the supply chain and on the logistics. So the transparency, the immutability, the sharing of data without losing the ownership of the documents or the data itself. So I think that this is the big improvement that this project will bring to our company and to our process, and this is why we are very excited and we are developing this tool, is to be able to have a shared database where we can have immutable documents and bring in the end more transparency to the customer.
Great. And do you think that that this industry, obviously some industry leaders will have already adopted the blockchain technology, but the industry in itself is also composed of very small players. How do you think that small players could adopt the technology, even though that they may not have the same level of budgetary capabilities that bigger players have?
Yeah, I think that's a great challenge. So they'll have, of course, if you don't have there are solutions, and this is what we are also considering, is that you may not have the possibility to have your own completely decentralized tool or operations, but you can still leverage the power of the big companies that are providing services in blockchain to incorporate that in your own operations and in your own systems without having the full cost or in terms of the time and budget to develop your own solution.
Yeah. So you think that kind of a group approach or an ecosystem approach for smaller vendors would make more sense, or do you think that there's still place to actually go with enterprise blockchain integrated in these players, with these players?
I think that both solutions are possible. So we are, of course, everything or a lot of things have been done already, but we are still a lot of road ahead. So a lot of things will be done in the blockchain space. But I believe, yeah, the ecosystem approach is a very interesting for the enterprise. So for companies that are not exclusively Web3, this ecosystem approach can be very interesting for Web2 or everyday industries to start to interact and to use the power and the characteristics of blockchain without completely changing the scope or their operations.
Yeah. And now more into a more outlandish question, or a more maverick question. What was the most crazy blockchain idea that you've ever seen or heard, or let's get into the...
Yeah, if we just, yeah, do you have anything?
No, I hope it didn't come from us.
Not yet. No, I think if we exclude, of course, all the Ponzi's and the memes that we see nowadays, I think that the most difficult to believe are the ones that say that they are going to change completely the industries. For example, I believe that there are some applications. NFTs are a big technology, and in terms of technology, it's a great principle and can be applied to a lot of things. But there are applications of NFTs that I think that they're not going to be useful, and that they won't penetrate the market as everyone says. For example, I think that most of of course there are art that can be turned into NFTs, but most of the NFTs that everyone creates and say that are art and tradings and everything, they are not worth it. Just because something is unique doesn't mean it has value. But for now, just because what they say to have value is because it's unique, but I don't think it's the only characteristics for something to have value. So
great. And you?
Well, I mean, I agree with Lourenço in the sense that there's value attribution to things, which is outlandish. But for me, the technology works. If you look at NFTs, you could argue, obviously, whether a picture of a monkey should be worth anything. I mean, any art is usually controversial.
Yeah.
Right? And just because most people disagree that something is art, it's probably enough for a few people to agree and attribute value for it to make it interesting as well, and have some value. But for me, what was really interesting with the NFTs, for example, is that it actually worked. Right? So these NFTs were minted, and people were trading them, and they were using the technology as the infrastructures to trade them, and it worked on scale for that trading activity and delivery versus payment and all of that stuff to actually manifest itself on the blockchain in front of us. The technology worked. Whether it was overhyped and there were lots of people just took advantage of it and so on, that's another matter, right? That's the market.
Yeah,
but the tech side I think was super interesting. Yeah, in terms of outlandish, I think the problem with blockchain, and we spoke about this earlier, is a lot of things need to be put in place in order to tap into more value. Like you need some form of digital money that's acceptable to more and more people, and there's regulation when you start dealing with value and so on. So I would say the outlandish stuff is probably the stuff that just assumes that you can do things today, when in practice there might be legal or regulatory reasons why you can't. Doesn't mean that we can't get there eventually. Right, the regulation, especially in the EU, is moving really very nicely, and so I think for me the outlandish stuff is just people not realizing the complexity of touching some areas today just because of regulatory reasons.
Great. Well, that's all for today. Thank you for watching, and see you on the next episode. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you for the invite.
Thank you.
Lead with vision, inspire with innovation. Enter the genius inside. In a world where change is constant, every decision counts. The digital future belongs to those who decide to innovate now. The decisions you make today will be your legacy tomorrow. With strategies that drive sustainable growth and continuous transformation, get interviewed by the Genius Inside community and leverage your brand.
Just because most people disagree that something is art, it's probably enough for a few people to agree and attribute value for it to make it interesting as well.
Operational efficiency that drives profits starts with strategic decisions. Be the force of change, lead with confidence and innovation. Join the Genius Inside community, subscribe and follow us for more.